Now that we know Battlefield 1 will be taking place in World War I want to speculate as to what battles specifically Battlefield 1 will be covering in either multiplayer or single player. These battles were chosen by the size of the battles and their significance, of course. Number 1, the Battle of Liège. The Battle of Liège took place in Belgium between the 5th and 16th of August of 1914 and is considered to be one of the very first battles of World War I. Although the fortress city of Liège was taken at the end of the battle, it delayed the Germans long enough for the British Expeditionary Force to land in France and to place themselves behind the Belgians as they retreated from the battle. As this was one of the first battles of World War I, it seems like a nice place to start. It's also a fort battle or a siege battle if you're the Germans attacking, and it's a siege defense if you're the Belgians defending. This also makes for a pretty nice multiplayer map. Number 2, HMS Pathfinder. Although this isn't a battle per se, the HMS Pathfinder is significant in history because it is the first ship to ever be sunk by a submarine on September 5th, 1914 by U-21. So no multiplayer map here, but maybe a quick main mission just for the significance of sinking a ship by a submarine for the first time in history. Number 3, the Battle of Mons. The Battle of Mons was fought in only one day on August 23, 1914, between the British Expeditionary Force and the German Army, and was fought on the border between Belgium and France. This was the first battle in which the British Expeditionary Force took part in, and by the morning were woefully unprepared for the German offensive. By mid-afternoon, they were in full retreat. This is also another one of the first major battles of World War I, and is also significant because it's the first battle in which any United Kingdom soldiers or forces took place in. Number 4, the Battle of Tannenberg. Fought on the often forgotten Eastern Front, the Battle of Tannenberg took place between the 26th and 30th of August 1914 and was a decisive German victory. Although the war had only been raging for less than 2 months, the Russians had made huge gains into eastern Prussia. But with the strategic minds of Field Marshal Paul von Hindenburg and Erich Ludendorff, the Germans were able to turn the tide of the Russian offensive. The Russians would never again gain so much German land. We have to remember that World War I was the first real world war. It took place between Argentina and Japan. It engulfed the entire planet, so it can't all be Western Front all day. This battle is one of the most significant Eastern Front battles, and that's why I added it to the list. Number 5, the Second Battle of Ypres. The Second Battle of Ypres took place between the 22nd of April and the 25th of May, 1915. It is significant because it is the first time on the Western Front that the Germans used gas attacks. Although the Germans had used gas attacks on the Eastern Front, they have never used it in such quantity and on the Western Front. This was the first time. It forced both the Allies and the Axis to accept that gas would kill if they did not protect their soldiers properly, and gas masks and advances and gas attacks would follow. As we saw in the Battlefield 1 trailer, gas attacks are present in the game, and seeing how this is the first major gas attack in history, it would make sense that the Second Battle of Ypres would be in the game. Number 6, Second Battle of Artois. The Second Battle of Artois took place between the 9th of May and 18th of June, 1915. The battle itself consisted of many smaller battles, including the Battle of Vimy Ridge, Aubers Ridge, and Festubert. Although the Allies only succeeded in gaining some 2,000 yards for the loss of 130,000 soldiers, the Second Battle of Artois would see some of the most heroic fighting so far in the war, including the Canadians Expeditionary Force's heroic seizure of Vimy Ridge. Vimy Ridge, along with Aubers Ridge and Festubert, are some of the other battles that are more talked about in World War I, and might creep their way into Battlefield 1 in some way or another. Number 7, the Battle of Verdun. The Battle of Verdun took place over 9 months, from the 21st of February to the 20th of December 1916. The goal of the Germans was to kill as many Frenchmen as possible, as they knew that the French would stop at nothing to protect the city of Verdun. In one of the bloodiest battles in World War I and in history, the total casualties combined from both sides numbered over 714,000. The Battle of Verdun was nothing more than a battle of attrition, and although the French claimed victory, both sides suffered too many casualties to count. The Battle of Verdun is one of, if not the most famous battle of World War I. Many people thought that if Verdun had been taken by the Germans, that the French army would have simply folded and the war would have been lost. The French held the city, but at an extraordinary cost. Number 8, the Battle of Jutland. The Battle of Jutland took place between the 31st of May and the 1st of June 1916. It was the first and only major clash between the surface fleet of both Germany and the United Kingdom. Although the United Kingdom suffered many more casualties than the Germans, the United Kingdom had a much larger surface fleet and could sustain many more casualties. It was a strategic British victory, and the German surface fleet would never again venture out for a clash for the rest of the war. We did see some naval combat in the Battlefield 1 trailer, and as I said, this is the first and only major clash between both the British and the German surface fleets. So if you're gonna have naval combat in Battlefield 1, it seems like this battle has to be in it somewhere. Number 9, the Battle of the Somme. The Battle of the Somme took place between the 1st of July and 18th of November 1916 and was designed to take pressure off of the Verdun front. In the single-handedly bloodiest battle of World War I, in just the first few hours of the battle, the British sustained more than 60,000 casualties. It is the worst day in the history of the British Army. The British advanced just 6 miles to the tune of 420,000 casualties. In total, both sides suffered between 1.1 and 1.2 million casualties in the Battle of the Somme. As this is the bloodiest and one of the largest battles of World War I, it just wouldn't be right if Battlefield 1 did not have the Battle of the Somme in it at some point. Number 10, the Battle of Flers-Courcelette. The Battle of Flers-Courcelette took place between the 15th and 22nd of September 1916 and took place during the major offensive of the Battle of the Somme. The reason the Battle of Flers-Courcelette is significant is because it's the first time that tanks are ever used in battle. 49 tanks were deployed in the battle, and although many suffered from mechanical failure, the few that did make it sent the Germans routing. This was a brand new weapon that had been deployed to the battlefield for the first time, and the Germans didn't know how to defend against it. The tank would bring a new aspect to warfare that would change the way that countries fight war for years to come. As we saw tanks in the Battlefield 1 trailer, it would only seem right that we see a co-sighting mission for the very first time tanks were introduced in the battlefield. Number 11, the Battle of Messines. Also known as the Battle of Messines Ridge, the Battle of Messines took place between the 7th and 14th of June 1917. Prelude to the battle, the British dug 19 mines under the German lines, and on command detonated 19 massive underground mines. The detonation of the 19 mines created the largest man-made explosion in history. The battle itself taking place in Belgium, the explosion could be heard all the way in London. With the help of the detonation of the 19 underground mines, the British do win victory, but only in this very small sector of the front. Seeing how this is the largest explosion in history, I think a quick cutscene about this particular battle would be nice. Number 12, the Battle of Cambrai. The Battle of Cambrai took place between the 20th of November and the 7th of December 1917. It is remembered as the largest tank battle of World War I, as the British deployed more than 450 tanks to the battlefield. Never before had so many tanks been deployed to such a small area of the front, and the Germans simply did not know what to do. The British did gain territory, but nearly half of the tanks were either destroyed or mechanically failed during the battle. The sight of 400 plus tanks rolling towards a trench would look amazing in Battlefield 1, and since you're going to be driving tanks, this battle will be awesome to be in. Number 13, the Battle of Cantigny. The Battle of Cantigny takes place on the 28th of May 1918. It is significant because it is the first time any US forces sees combat on the Western Front, and also significant because it is a halting force that stops the German offensive that has seen them get within 40 miles of Paris. Number 14, the Battle of Amiens. The Battle of Amiens took place between the 8th and 12th of August of 1918 and turned the tide on the Western Front. On the 8th of August alone, the Allies advanced more than 7 miles into German territory. General Erich Ludendorff calls the 8th of August the Black Day of the German Army. This single battle really does break the back of the German army and starts what is called the 100 Days Offensive, in which the Allies advance into German-held territory for 100 straight days. No more trench warfare. This is the turning point in the Western Front. From this day forward, the Allies are on the offensive, the Germans are in full retreat, and this is what basically ends the war on the Western Front until, of course, the armistice is signed. Seeing as it's the turning point and really the last real battle of World War I, the deciding battle, I guess this would be a great way to end the game. Campaign-wise, multiplayer, I have no idea, but that's it, guys. That's the top 14. I tried to pick, a lot of these are on the Western Front, but a lot of the big battles were on the Western Front. There were other, again, World War I, all around the world. There were a ton of more battles that I could have added. This list could have been 100 battles long, but I just picked the top 14 most significant, largest, most important battles. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any other ideas for any other battles, leave in the comments. Again, this is all speculation. This is also things that I want to see in the game. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next one.